Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here with Chirp Nature Center for another virtual bird walk. Now, Chirp has been in its second year of bird walks. So these are in-person bird walks that have been happening the first Saturday of the month. And in celebration of our successful birding season, we are going to be having our final birding event on the Big Bear Queen. So this in-person bird walk will be focusing on birds around the lake. You can join us October 3rd at 8 a.m. for a 90-minute bird cruise. And this is going to be around the Big Bear Lake. It's operating at half capacity to allow for social distancing. So space is limited. You can call Captain Chris for tickets. You can also get all of the information on our website at chirpforbirds.com. Now, this is something to look forward to. This is something you can look forward to in October, but right now you are seeing footage from our last in-person bird walk on September 5th. So thank you so much for joining us. Let me switch to that. This is video from our bird walk on September 5th. We saw beautiful sights and many birds, and everyone enjoyed this walk so much. We're going to go back there virtually now. And because our goal is to get you connected to nature through birding any way that we can. But instead of just watching from your screen, you are going to help us identify birds. And I'll explain this in a little bit. But before we get started, let me introduce you to our guide for today. Some of you may know him. His name is Randall Putz, and he is a nature enthusiast. He has been passionate about connecting people to nature using birds as inspiration. So in 2018, Randy created Chirp Nature Center with his wife, Beth. You can see both of them in the beautiful picture on the right-hand side. And a little known fact about Randy, he loves bluebirds. But in a recent walk, I recently learned that Randy has some other favorite birds that he loves to see on our walks and at his feeders. And speaking of favorites, go ahead and post in the chat where you're coming from and what your favorite bird is. And hopefully we'll see it on our walk today. So thanks again for joining us. And it looks like we're ready to get started.
Hello, I'm so glad you could join us. We are here at the Happy Hills Trail right next door to the City of Big Bear Lakes City Hall. This is a special area, one of our favorites, for a variety of reasons that I will share with you as we go along.
All right, folks. So it looks like we maybe have some technical difficulties. Can you post in the chat and let me know if you can hear okay? We just want to make sure that everyone is able to enjoy this event together and that everyone can hear where we're going. Great. Looks like we can hear okay. Let's keep going. Okay, so we are going to be hiking today in the Happy Hills Trail area. You can see on the map, the trailhead is located right by Big Bear Lake City Hall, and it is a lovely 7-minute drive to the area from Chirp, which is located in the Big Bear Village. Now, this is very easily accessible because there's a large parking lot and clearly marked signs. Now, the nice thing about this trail is there are 2 trail options. You can do a flat paved trail, which is great for beginning birders. And you can also go beyond that. There's a dirt road that leads up to the forest. Now, what is even more interesting is the history behind how this trail was established. There we go. Easily accessible, both easy and intermediate options. Let's listen how it was established.
The Happy Hills Trail has a bit of an interesting background and history to it that I want to share with you real quick. It is named after an original resort that was in this area before the city of Big Bear Lake was incorporated, and the family that owned the Happy Hills Resort donated all of this land, many acres, to the new city of Big Bear Lake that was incorporated in 1980. Also, behind us, we have what we call the chalet building that was recently restored and was one of the original cabins that was here on site when this was a resort. And it's a pretty neat building with some unique architectural features on it. And if you look closely at this rockwork, you'll see that the folks that built it incorporated in old metal pieces. So there are parts of lamps and weather vanes and chains and end irons and all kinds of crazy stuff as you look around the building that's embedded in the rockwork. Some pretty cool old Big Bear Lake history.
And the great thing is this is a unique marker for the beginning of the trail, and I hope you are as excited as I am to start. But it looks like Randy has a few more tips to fully prepare us for today.
Before we get started, like always, we want to make sure that we have our bird watching basics with us. I've got my trusty Zeiss binoculars. I have my wild bird checklist that's available free online or at our Chirp Nature Center in the village. And I have my favorite wild bird guide. This one happens to be the Peterson's Bird Guide for birds of Western North America. We are going to go on a little bird walk today. I'm going to ask for your help to identify birds, and as we go along and we see different things, I might describe it, and then we'll see if you can figure out what it is before we actually reveal it. So it'll sharpen up your bird watching skills, and you might even learn something as we go along. Ready? Let's go.
All right, so as Randy mentioned, you are a part of our bird identifying team today. So when you recognize a bird, go ahead and post its name in the chat. And here's the best part. We don't care if you get it right because we are here to have fun and learn about these birds. So I challenge you to try to post your guess for each bird we identified today. You won't learn if you never try. So get your bird identifying brains ready and we'll learn what makes Happy Hills Trail such a great place to birdwatch.
One of the reasons why we really like this trail, besides it being easy to get to, is that it's near water and it runs along the edge of Metcalf Creek. And you may recall one of our earlier bird walks was way up in the National Forest above this creek in Metcalf Meadow. That is the source for this water.
Now get ready to identify some birds. In our past bird walk, we had the treat of seeing many raptors in the area. So this bird would be a less common species that we're looking for. Are you ready?
Another bird of prey that we would watch for in this more open woodland area is probably the smallest hawk in North America. They're short, maybe 9 to 13 inches. They only weigh maybe 7 to 9 ounces, which is about as much as a hockey puck. They use their cat-like talons to impale their prey, and they also will feed their young for a while, bringing dead prey first to the nest for the young to feed on, and then after a while they will hold dead prey in the air and call the young to come up and grab the dead prey from them. They have very long tails that are typically notched, and this would be the Sharp-shinned Hawk.
All right, did you get it? This would be our first bird of the Sharp-shinned Hawk, and unlike other hawks, this Sharp-shinned Hawk only migrates through this area and isn't a full-time resident. Now, the cool thing about this is when you watch for this hawk, watch for a flap and glide flight pattern. They are very acrobatic flyers, recorded at speeds of 60 miles per hour. And their sound is like a loud chirp. You can listen and hear two hawks calling to each other. Ready? Let's listen. And don't worry if you didn't get the Sharp-shinned Hawk, because we're about to identify another bird. And here's another clue you can use to find more birds in the area.
As we continue on our bird walk, we of course are looking for clues of wild bird activity, and I just noticed a nesting tree riddled with holes, and that reminds me of a bird in the woodpecker family that we see here. It is black and white with a red cap on the top, and it doesn't hammer at the tree to get at insects. It instead uses its bill to flake away at the bark to get at insects, a little different than other woodpecker species. It loves pine nuts, and it will wedge the pine nuts into crevices of trees to get at the meat. And the males and females will communicate to one another using a soft drumming from either within or outside the nest cavity.
If you guessed it, this is a woodpecker, correct? More specifically, this is the white-headed woodpecker. Now, something great about this is that for all of you white-haired birders out there, you're technically trendy in the birding world because you too have a white head. So, food for thought. Another exciting thing about these birds is that they often will use recently burned forest areas as nesting sites because fire burnt sites use it or will attract a certain group of insects, which in turn attract these woodpeckers. Another thing, they love suet, which is a high fat bird seed that you can get at your local nature center. And this is a very important food during winter, which is coming up. Here you can hear it chirp away as it enjoys pine cones in an evergreen tree. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty exhausted from identifying all these great birds. So let's go ahead and take a little rest.
Another nice feature of the Happy Hills Trail is there's little spots where you can stop, take a rest, perhaps have a picnic. Right here, we're next to Metcalf Creek. You can hear the pleasant gurgling of the brook as it goes by.
Now, while we are resting, we can still search for another common bird in the Big Bear Lake area. See if you can identify this one.
These are black heads with a blue body. Very, very intelligent birds. They can imitate a variety of sounds, including cats and machinery and other birds. And they are known nest robbers. It can be cruel in the bird world, and they will often kill other small birds. These birds love peanuts. I've been in my yard and I've watched a group of them drain an entire feeder filled with peanuts in just a matter of minutes, almost, maybe an hour. And I was surprised at how quickly they took them away, and I thought, surely they're not eating them this quickly. And as I watched them, I noticed that they were taking the peanuts and they were flying off and they were burying them or hiding them. And it turns out that these jays use caches to store food to help them get through the winter. And these jays, of course, are the Steller's jays.
All right. So if you guessed it, this is the Steller's jay, not to be confused with the blue jays. Interesting thing about Steller's is scientists have described up to 16 species in North and Central America, showing a variety of combinations of black and blue on the crest, head, and body. Also, Steller's and blue jays are the only North American jays with crests and the only New World jay that uses mud to build their nests. Kind of interesting. Now, here are two jays calling back and forth from each other, which is a common sound you'll hear all throughout Big Bear. Well, I hope you are well rested because we are on the move yet again and have come to another destination point in our walk today.
While the Happy Hills Trail is a great, convenient place to go and take a quick nature break, it's not especially long. And we're here at the end of the official trail, but at the beginning of the National Forest. And if you continue up along Metcalf Creek, you will end up in an old shut-down campground. And this entire area is a great place to continue and watch for wild birds.
As you can see, this is the sign in the dirt road. This is where it begins. So this is where the trail becomes a little more challenging, but is just as rewarding for bird watching. So let's continue identifying some birds.
If you look closely on large trees like this, you will see a little tiny hyperactive bundle of energy. It's a particular kind of nuthatch, and you will see them sometimes in groups of as many as half a dozen going up and down and left and right, and it's really interesting to watch them. They are small and maybe 3-4 inches long, and they are very lightweight, maybe a half of an ounce, the equivalent of 2 quarters. And what's unique about them are actually a couple things. One, they're one of the few songbirds in North America that rely on a family infrastructure to feed and protect their nests. They also have developed special mechanisms to combat cold weather. They will huddle together in cavities, and they will drop their body temperatures down to hypothermic levels to be able to get through cold winters. They're also old. They've found fossils that are as old as 11,000 years old. They've been with us for quite a while. This would be the Pygmy Nuthatch. And I discern the Pygmy nuthatch from other nuthatches like the white-breasted nuthatch by how the cap descends at eye level. So the Pygmy nuthatch has coloration, has a cap that goes through the eye, whereas the white-breasted nuthatch has a space above the eye and the cap does not descend down. And of course the white-breasted is bigger. But this Pygmy, they're tiny, little hyperactive bundles of energy, and they're fun to watch go all over these tree trunks.
Now, these little bundles will breed in large extended family groups, so they're often seen a half a dozen at a time, which makes nest helpers readily available. They also eat 9 calories a day, and that's it, in order to keep up their energy. Pretty interesting. Now, you can hear they have this little yipping call, and it honestly sounds just as cute as the Pygmy nuthatch looks. Go ahead and take a listen. Well, I'm having a lot of fun already, and I hope you are too. Go ahead and post it in the chat if you're enjoying this and you're learning about some new birds. So, Randy, how would you describe our bird walk so far?
Just magnificent. Out in the forest, the fresh air, beautiful rocks, a creek, birds all around.
Now, this is a truly beautiful area, and now that we're closer to the creek, get ready to identify a beautiful flycatcher. It's a little hint for you.
This part of our walk next to the creek with a bunch of willows is great flycatcher territory. There's a particular flycatcher that we'll see here. It's got a grayish brown body with a cinnamon chest, and it has normally a flattish top, but it'll raise its feathers on its head to create a bit of a crest. This flycatcher will sit on branches, and then it will fly out and grab insects and then land, or it will pounce on them on the ground. And this flycatcher also is a great one to attract to your yard because they will nest in the same place year after year. These guys also have been around a long time. Paleontologists have found fossils of them in the Southwest that go back 400,000 years.
All right, let's see if you can guess it correct. Says Phoebe. Yes, and the nests are just about anywhere. So they can nest in mailboxes, machinery, and in the old nests built by black and eastern phoebes, cliff bank barn swallows, and American robins. Now, because they nest in the same location each year, if you're trying to attract these birds to your backyard, it's a good idea to plant native shrubs, therefore creating a habitat where there are many foraging opportunities for them to catch all of those bugs midair. Now, this is the gentle call of a male. This is exactly what it sounds like. Now, as mentioned, flycatchers are attracted to areas with lots of bugs. In fact, there are a variety of interesting insects that can be found in this area.
Here in the San Bernardino National Forest, we'll get these great migrations of ladybugs. I've seen it where there's just clouds of them everywhere. But over here to my right, down by the creek, I've come across bushes that are just completely covered. It's like the bush had been dipped in ladybugs. Kind of crazy thing to see, but pretty neat to see nature in its full glory.
Now, yet again, we've reached another great location to see some raptors. So let's see if you can identify this one.
As this trail opens up into more of a clearing here, this is another great spot to keep our eyes open for another common raptor or hawk that we'll see in this area. This is similar to the Sharp-shinned Hawk that we talked about, a little bit bigger. And what's interesting about this one is the way that the female behaves. The females are known to eat medium-sized birds, so because of that, the male will be very cautious around the females, and they'll actually wait for particular sounds from the females so that they can approach, being careful not to get eaten. Nature can be cruel. These birds are no exception. They will squeeze their prey with their talons, and they've even been known to drown their prey in water. This would be a Cooper's hawk.
All right. Hope that you guessed it. This is, in fact, the Cooper's hawk. Now, interesting thing about these birds is that the males build the nests and provide most of the food to the females and the young for over 90 days before the young fledge. Good job, dads. They also will work together to ambush unsuspecting prey. It's a very unique and clever tactic when it comes to hunting for food. Here you can hear the high-pitched screech of a juvenile perched in a lonely tree. Well, we've hit a fork in the road, so let's see where we're headed now.
We're continuing up this canyon past the Metcalf Creek, which is branched off to the right. We're staying up off to the left. We're heading uphill, and we're headed towards the Cold Brook Campground, which is an old shut-down campground in the National Forest. And we'll go see what we can see up there.
And as we continue up this clearing, we are still searching for yet another very well-known raptor. Get ready to identify it.
Another raptor or hawk that we'll be looking for in these more open woodland areas that you'll sometimes see circling up above is one that is darker brown on top, paler below, with a striped belly, and they're about 1.5 to 2 feet long. They are about the same size as a dachshund dog, but they weigh 1/10 of the weight of a dachshund, and they are about 3 pounds in size. Whenever you hear the shrill sound in a Western movie, it's typically this particular hawk, and they are especially fond of small mammals like rodents or rabbits, and they don't eat dogs or cats very often, so no need to worry.
No need to worry, because this red-tailed hawk is absolutely majestic. And It is the most common hawk in North America. Cool thing is, when we went to this location in person, we actually got to watch a red-tailed hawk just soaring around the sky, and it was quite breathtaking. Now, there are two different morphs when it comes to red-tailed hawk. They have the dark morph, which is more of a chocolate brown with a warmer red tail, and the rufous morph, which is a reddish brown on the chest and a darker belly. Like you would hear in the movie, we'll be listening for two screeches. There's a little space in between, so be sure to listen for both. And now that we've reached a more wooded area, we're about to identify one of Randy's other favorite birds. Now, I'd never seen this bird before, so let's go ahead and pay attention. It's quite incredible.
In woodlands like this, you might be lucky enough to see one of my favorites. The first time I saw this bird, I kind of freaked out because I thought, what is this thing doing here? They'll be up higher in the canopy. They have a bright reddish orange head, yellow body, coal black wings. When the male performs its flashy courtship ritual, it will tumble by the female, flashing its yellow and black colors. They are a spectacular bird, and this would be a western tanager. They get their red, orange colored heads from a chemical pigment called rhodoxanthin, and they don't generate this pigment naturally, so scientists speculate that they get the pigment from insects that they eat.
Good job guessing the western tanager. Now, this fantastic bird loves fruit. So if you're trying to attract it to your backyard, here's a little tip for you. You can cut up freshly cut oranges and have fresh fruit at your feeders. You also should provide moving water, a bird bath, or a pond to help attract them to your yard. So fruit and water will hopefully bring these birds to your backyard. Now, the females and immatures, they're kind of a dimmer yellow-green, blackish color. Not as exciting, but you will know if you've seen a male or if you've seen a female and immature. Now, I love their sound. It's kind of this like gentle, gurgling chirp. So go ahead and take a listen. All right, you guys are all doing a great job. Let's go ahead and keep going.
We are continuing up and around through the old Cold Brook campground on a nice paved path, an old road. I'm keeping my eyes open for another one of my favorites. This is a black and orange bird. It's got a big, thick bill, a bill that's especially well adapted for getting sunflower kernels out of the shells. This bird also has the ability to eat monarch butterflies, and monarch butterflies produce a toxin that makes them inedible to almost all birds, but this bird will eat monarchs in 8-day cycles, and it will give it the opportunity to get those monarch toxins out of its body. This is the black-headed grosbeak, and we love seeing this bird in our yard. We fondly refer to them as Lord and Lady Grosbeak.
And this regal bird is actually very committed parents. They both are. So both sexes will sit on the eggs, feed the young, and defend the nests. Also, males do not get their beautiful adult breeding plumage until they're about 2 years old. So it's only the yearling males that resemble adults that can defend their territory and try to breed. Now, they also are very loud songsters. Females' songs are generally a simplified version of the male, but occasionally a female will sing a full male song, possibly to deceive its mate about the presence of intruders and to get him to spend more time at the nest. I see what you're doing, black-headed grosbeak. Well, their joyful their joyful song sounds a little bit like this. All right, so this next bird is quite a quality bird. So let's see if you can get it.
Scattered among the pines, we'll see manzanita and white buckthorn, a bunch of different lower shrubs. That's a good place to catch this next bird. It is a ground-dwelling bird, and it has black and chestnut colored bands across its belly. It's generally gray, and it has a crest that sits straight up on its head. There's another variety of this bird that has a crest too. The other variety is the California quail. The California quail has a more rounded crest, whereas this one has a crest that goes straight up. When it's relaxed, the crest lays back. When it's alert, the crest sticks straight up. And that's how you can tell the mountain quail, this bird that we're talking about, from the California quail. The mountain quail has the straight crest. The California quail has the rounded bent crest. If you were with us on one of our earlier bird walks this season, you would have witnessed with us a whole family of them running right in front of us, almost on cue. A mom, a dad, and a bunch of babies just running across the road in front of us. Pretty cool to see.
Now, this mountain quail is the largest quail in the United States. Its average length is 10 to 12 inches. So if you took 5 to 6 golf tees and stacked them on top of each other, that's the length of the quail. Also, their average weight is 7 to 9 ounces, which is a little less than a can of soup. Now, they are constantly foraging on the forest floor. So in summer, they will move to woodlands as high as 10,000 feet. And there they will enjoy abundant plant life and insects. And then in autumn, they'll start descending towards lower ridges or desert plains. Now, here's the call and the song of a mountain quail foraging on the forest floor. All right, so we are down to our last bird for today. So get ready and best of luck identifying this bird.
I just saw fly overhead this other bird, brownish body, black spots on its wings, white tail feathers, and it is the most commonly hunted bird in North America. It makes a whistling sound when it takes flight, and when it eats, it has what's called a crop, and it can eat a whole bunch of seeds. Tens of thousands of seeds have been counted. So it will feed on the ground, it's a ground feeder, and it will store the seeds in its crop, and then it will go off and finish digesting those. When these birds fly during mating season, you'll often see them in a threesome. There will be a mated lead male that's being chased by a non-mated male that's basically saying, "Get out of my territory." And it will be followed by a third bird, which is the mated female. It's just interesting to note how they will protect their breeding area. And the female, I guess, just goes along for the ride.
This is the glorious mourning dove. Now, it survives in the desert because it can drink brackish water, brackish spring water, which is up to almost half the salinity of sea water without becoming dehydrated, which humans are completely incapable of doing. Now, it eats roughly 12 to 20% of its body weight per day. That's 71 calories on average. So let me put it into perspective. A 200-pound human would get to eat up to 40 pounds of food a day. I don't know. That sounds pretty awesome. Just think how many Big Macs that is. All right. Well, it has kind of a sorrowful song, almost like a lament. And it sounds just like this. Well, That's it. Congratulations. You have completed a bird walk and hopefully identified many birds. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you learned a lot about the birds that we identified together. So before we tell you about the bird prize that you can win for all of your hard work, Randy has one last thing to share.
We are back where we began at the beginning of the Happy Hills Trail, right beside the City of Big Bear Lakes City Hall. It's been another glorious bird walk in the National Forest. I want to thank you for joining us. I encourage you to get out into nature, wherever that may be for you, and take a moment to watch, observe, and take in the beauty. Thanks for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. So in honor of all of your hard work, it is time to take the bird walk quiz to claim your prize. Now, it's super easy to take the quiz. I think it's maybe 2 minutes long. And you're going to go to our website, chirpforbirds.com/quiz. That's it. That's how you get there. The link is posted in the chats, so you can just click on it once the event's done. Now, by taking this quiz, you'll be entered in to win a free Chirp cap, which is modeled by one of our beautiful employees, Joy. Now, this cap you can take on your next bird walk and think of Chirp Nature Center, knowing that they're here to support you the whole time. And by taking this quiz, just for participating in this event, we are going to send you a free Wild Birds Love Me sticker. Now, this sticker is not yet on sale, is one of a kind, and you will be the first to receive it if you take our quiz and fill out all of your information. But here's the catch. You only have 24 hours to complete this quiz after the presentation ends. So go ahead, click on the link below, enjoy this quick little quiz, and be entered in to win these great prizes. Now, until we see you again, I just want to remind you of some of our upcoming virtual events. So we do have virtual bird walks at 4 p.m. And those are the same trail we go on our in-person bird walk. So just to remind you, the in-person bird walk for October is aboard the Big Bear Queen. It's our birding cruise. And then the virtual bird walk is going to be on October 14th. And that will be our completed virtual birdwalk birding season. But don't worry, we have other virtual events going on. We have our virtual bird talks. The next one that's coming up is on September 19th at 4 o'clock. This one is all about bats. And now we're bringing in a local specialist to tell you about these incredible creatures that you will love to learn about. We also have our how-to series that is on the fourth Wednesday of every month. And the reason that these series kind of came about was because we had so many customers asking us questions about how to begin backyard birding. So we've broken down this process for you. And each episode is about half an hour long with a question and answer session at the very end. So we'll talk you through different elements of backyard birding and answer all of your questions. This month, we're going to be focusing on the seed you need. We've already talked about the beginning of backyard birding as well as bird feeders. Now you can go ahead and watch those in anticipation for September 23rd when we'll be talking about the different types of seed and what you need to best suit your backyard birds. Now, let us know how we can help you anytime from anywhere. So we're located in the Big Bear Lake Village in California, but you can call us, you can email us, or you can visit our website for any questions you have or anything you want to shop for your birds. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on all of the information and all of the upcoming events that you can join from wherever you are. So again, thank you so much for joining us here today. Now go ahead and test your bird brain. Go to chirpforbirds.com/quiz, take that quiz, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.